It's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Want to be a winner?
You've won £18,000.
Oh, flipping heck. I don't know what to say.
Enter our massive spring giveaway with 3 big seasonal prizes to be won. There's £12,345 in tax-free cash to give your finances a spring boost. We'll also send you on a shopping spree with £500 worth of vouchers to spend in the store of your choice. You'll also get a garden gadget package. For another chance to win the vouchers, the treats and £12,345 in tax-free cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB03 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 29th of March. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if watching or listening on demand. Good luck.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debate, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
Good evening, it is 8 o'clock from the world headquarters of GB News. This is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. Was this the week the Tories lost the election? Has the Princess Kate photo row permanently damaged the royal family? Should Diane Abbott be accepted back into the Labour Party? And is woke madness finally in retreat? This is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. Bring your own drinks, the admission is free. And I couldn't hope for two finer Friday friends of more superior pedigree than legends of Fleet Street, Mike "Porky" Parry and Nina Mishkoff. Plus, former Royal butler Paul Burrell on what has been a challenging week for the Royals. Our top Westminster insider, the Express Online's fearless political editor David Maddox, and king of the TV chefs, Anthony Worrell-Thompson. My Friday Big Opinion is on the way. My first on-air reaction to Lee Anderson's defection to Reform UK. A crisis for McDonald's and the woke tide is turning. All of that after the news headlines and Sophia Wensler.
Mark, thank you. I'm Sophia Wensler in the GB newsroom. Former Prime Minister Liz Truss has accused Labour of preventing a debate on her bill, which seeks to ban transgender women from female-only spaces and prevent them from competing in women's sports. It was due to be discussed in the Commons today, but MPs appear to waste time to delay her debate. She told GB News she was frustrated by the opposition party's stalling tactics.
My bill has been stopped today from being debated by the Labour Party, and I'm absolutely furious about that. They don't even want to talk about the importance of recognising biological sex. They don't want to talk about how we stop children being able to access puberty blockers that would actually stop their development. So they have spent today filibustering my bill and stopping it being talked about, even though over the last few weeks I've had a huge amount of public support from concerned parents, concerned teachers, from young people themselves who want these bills measures put into law.
James Heappey has announced he won't stand as an MP at the next general election, saying he wants to prioritise his family and pursue a different career. He's also expected to resign as Armed Forces Minister by the end of this month. More than 60 Tory MPs have now announced they're leaving the Commons. And Labour has accused the Prime Minister of being too chicken to call an election. As a result, a group of activists dressed as chickens clucked outside Downing Street, demanding the Prime Minister name the date now. Labour added Rishi Sunak needs to stop squatting in number 10. A £5 million donation from Frank Hester has not yet been given to the Conservatives, with senior party sources telling GB News talks about the funds are still ongoing. The businessman, who's already given the party £10 million, is accused of being racist after he allegedly said MP Diane Abbott made him want to hate all black women. The Prime Minister's under pressure to return the donation. And voting is underway in Russia to elect the country's next president. But the first day has been marked by disruptions, including dye being poured into ballot boxes, a Molotov cocktail thrown at a polling station in Putin's hometown. Ballots are being cast over 3 days, even though Vladimir Putin is all but certain to win. And for the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's back to Mark.
Thanks, Sophia. Was this the week the Tories lost the election? Has the Princess Kate photo row damaged the royal family? Should Diane Abbott be accepted back into the Labour Party? And is woke madness finally in retreat? All that plus much more on Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, in the company of two Fleet Street legends, Nina Mishkoff and Mike "Porky" Parry. Yes, indeed, very excited. Lots to get through. Anthony Worrell-Thompson, Paul Burrell on the way. But first, my Friday Big Opinion. It feels like just weeks ago, but it was actually Monday when GB News superstar and then Tory MP Lee Anderson defected to Reform UK. And his departure is starting to look like the final nail in the coffin for the Conservatives. Lee Anderson might be characterised as a divisive figure by the London-based media, but he's a totemic figure for potential Tory voters and disgruntled Labour supporters. Lee Anderson talks like a normal person, like a real human being. And his views, which are dangerously controversial in Islington, are just plain common sense in the Red Wall and beyond. Lee Anderson wants to keep taxes to a sensible level to boost the economy and put money in the pockets of ordinary working Brits. He thinks that biological sex matters, that calls for genocide in our cities should be punished, and that immigration should be legal, orderly and at sustainable levels. Well, lock him up and throw away the key. What a monster. Now, it is my view that Lee's comments about the London Mayor Sadiq Khan being pals with terrorist sympathisers was wrong. But suspending the whip and effectively chucking him out of the party was a big mistake in the absence of letting Anderson clarify the points he was making. But all of that is ancient history now, as is this Tory administration by the looks of it. A Westminster insider tells me that some cabinet ministers and backbenchers are mulling over a replacement for Rishi Sunak now that an autumn election looks inevitable. Reform UK now have a big fat feather in their cap, and this no-nonsense voice of the people will now be banging the drum for the Tories' rivals. After a week in which the government have grappled with a new definition of extremism, Lee Anderson is anything but extreme, which is why it's extremely foolish that they let him go. Talking of the importance of biological sex, this week the popular Cheltenham Racing Festival announced that they've axed Ladies' Day. More proof, if you needed it, that women are quietly being cancelled. Meanwhile, a famous women's-only outdoor pond in North London has voted to allow trans women in to bathe. Biological men are winning female beauty contests and Women of the Year awards. They're breaking records in women's sport and are being banged up in women's jails. Can the ladies not just have one day in the year when they can wear a posh frock at the races? How much of this is about caving in to trans extremists? Well, you tell me. But we've got good news on that front. Extreme trans ideology, which says that men are women and vice versa, and which does the trans community no favours whatsoever when they deserve love and respect, well, this whole extreme movement is in retreat. NHS England have now banned the prescribing of puberty blockers to children. These pills stopped their bodies developing, and it's extraordinary that that was ever allowed. Meanwhile, our erstwhile former Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who identifies as a woman that was Prime Minister for 44 days, today wanted to present a bill to Parliament called the Health and Equality Act, which reasserts the legal status of biological sex and effectively stops biological men from entering women-only spaces and participating in women's sport. Now, the Equalities Minister, Kemi Badenoch, is warm on the idea, and former Home Secretary Suella Braverman backs it all the way. So guess which party played parliamentary games this afternoon to make sure the debate didn't happen and therefore put the kibosh on this sensible plan? You guessed it, the Labour Party, led by none other than Sir Keir Starmer, a man who struggles to define what a woman is, even though he's married to one. I hope Liz Truss is ultimately successful with this legislation. Perhaps her legacy won't be an economic crash and being outlived by lettuce after all. And last but not least, crisis on a Friday. McDonald's have had trouble selling their burgers due to a nationwide IT failure. Starving Brits are furious. They're all milk shaken up. It's fillet, no fish. The IT department are nuggets. What a McFlurry they've made of this. Yes, they've had their chips. Bosses are too chicken to do anything about it, effectively telling their customers to burger off. They've made an unhappy meal of it. Ronald McDonald is now having a worse week than Rishi Sunak. It's been a bun fight for the world's biggest restaurant chain, and let me tell you, I'm not loving it. Nina and I are off to Burger King. And that was my Friday Big Opinion. Let's get reaction from my Friday friends, broadcaster and author Nina Mishkov and TV and radio star Mike Porky Parry. Nina, great to see you. Bad news that Labour have effectively filibustered this important debate about biological sex.
Well, that'll come further down the track, I'm sure. But who actually would support Liz Truss in anything? You know, she's wrecked the country's economy. People are still struggling with their mortgages. You know, you can't cancel out one disaster by saying something positive. And I do agree with female spaces. I do agree, you know, but women don't feel safe anywhere. You know, you don't feel safe walking the streets, you don't feel safe with policemen.
Yeah.
So where we can have spaces that are fine. But on the other hand, for instance, the Ladies' Pond in Hampstead, if they have voted themselves, it's not something that's been imposed upon them. That's what they voted. Ladies' Day at the Cheltenham races. Ladies' Day is a kind of anachronistic thing, isn't it? So they've called it Style Wednesday. That sounds much more modern to me. And whether it has anything to do with transgender or not, I don't mind. I don't care. Style Wednesday's fine.
Do you not think the messaging...
I've never been a lady. I've never purported to be a lady. Sounds terribly...
I don't agree.
You are definitely a lady.
You're a wonderful lady.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah.
You're both. You're a double threat because you've got an amazing career. You're obviously a very successful journalist, and you're a fabulously glamorous lady too. You've done it both.
Well, thank you.
So why can't women have a day when they get to shine? Why can't we keep Ladies'
But
Day?
they are. I looked at all the photographs.
But now they're competing with blokes, aren't they, in their tweed suits and everything. It's just Style Wednesday. It's all been flattened out and homogenised.
What I dislike about Cheltenham is that they are very tweedy. I mean, there were some fabulous hats. And I've been to Ladies' Day at Ascot, but that was probably 20 years ago.
And that was the hot ticket.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
But why? Do you not think it's sad that women have had that taken away from them?
But they haven't. They still have that day to dress up.
But it's not called Ladies' Day, is it?
No, but Style Wednesday's fine. Who doesn't care about, you know, styles? And it's fine for me. This is just semantics to me. Look at that hat, for heaven's sake. I mean, they're still wearing...
No, honestly...
Michael, is it semantics or is there more to this? Is it social engineering, Mike Parry?
I think it is a bit of social engineering. I've been doing Cheltenham for the last 25 years, OK? And the day of all days was always Ladies' Day. Now, when a lady gets married, she likes to be the centre of attention because she's the bride and everything revolves around her. And that's what Ladies' Days do at big race meetings like Ascot. And it's her special day. And they buy a very expensive dress, they go there, they feel wonderful, they're being admired by everybody else. I do have an issue with this, which Nina might or might not know about, a north-south issue. When it happens, right, at Aintree, when it's the Grand National, all the picture editors want is a lady lying flat out on the ground at Aintree and called a northern ruffian who's had too much to drink. Whereas at Ascot and Cheltenham, the ladies wear beautiful clothes and they're admired for being the best in society. And I love to see it all the time. I love to be there with them.
Yes, but you said that you can't tell me that woman in the yellow before with the fabulous hat. She spent a fortune on it, and that's absolutely fine. Well, if Liverpool women can't hold their drink, well, that's a problem.
I think that's a bit unfair because...
No, but you talked about it. You said lying face, you know, snout down in the turf.
Well, what is your experience?
But Nina, hang on, excuse me. I've seen women lying snuffed down in the turf at Cheltenham and Ascot, but those are not the pictures they use from Cheltenham and Ascot. I think it's a disgrace.
I've no idea about that. But you're saying they're prejudiced against Liverpudlians.
Yes.
I doubt it very much.
Well, are Liverpool ladies drunken old slappers or not? Let's have this right.
Well, look, I think if you call women drunken old slappers, you can call them drunken old slappers anywhere. And Fleet Street was particularly riotous.
Well, I mean, I find the ladies of Merseyside very alluring.
Well, I'm sure you do.
I've never had an issue.
And I'm sure they find you alluring too.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, they're your sisters and probably a few ex-girlfriends, Mike.
They're my community. A few ex-girlfriends, indeed, you know, on the beach at New Brighton, at Aintree Racecourse. Yes, very, very lovely women.
But I mean, by a snout down in the turf, you know, with your hat askew, is not an attractive look. That's, you know...
But it happens at every race meeting.
It's hard to tell the difference between the horses and some of these women, but I just wonder,
I think
Mike,
that's a terrible thing to say.
I say it like
really
it is. Like you, Mike, I'm the seeker of truth and justice, you know, and I'll drop the truth bombs if I have to. Here's the other question, by the way, very briefly. The messaging from Labour that they have filibustered Liz Truss's attempt to have legislation that defines biological sex and introduces the primacy of biology in law.
Absolutely.
We need this law.
We definitely need this law. I think it's such a simple subject. Is a biological man going to be allowed into an area which should be protected for biological women? It's as simple as that to me. And only Hampstead could be the only place in the world where women actually vote to invite biological men into their arena. It wouldn't happen anywhere else except North London, would it?
It would.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't. People have more common sense outside of North London.
Look, are you saying these women are stupid?
I'm saying that they're trying to be trendy. They're trying to say, look, you know, we're up with it and all this kind of stuff.
Or have they been infected with the woke mind virus?
No, it's not a woke mind. Look, life moves on. We make progress towards areas that some people don't like. And if those women feel completely safe with, well, we don't know who is coming.
But Nina, you've already said on this show they shouldn't feel completely safe because you, as a woman, constantly feel threatened by men.
I think any woman constantly feels threatened by men.
Exactly.
So
why allow them into a swimming lake?
If the women feel safe with whoever has come to that pool, in whatever guise they've come, then that's fine.
I don't believe they do. I believe Mark's hit the nail on the head, the wokeness. They're frightened of being said, oh, we're prejudiced against trans people.
That's stupid. People are not that stupid. You know, you throw this word woke around as if it's the worst thing in the world. What did woke start out as? PC, politically correct, which was an attitude. Now it's been taken to sort of be the worst thing. We know. PC, being politically correct, was a term for language and behaviour that would not cause offence to somebody else. I mean, nobody wants to cause offence or to be rude to somebody else.
Woke is just bypassing common sense.
No, it's not.
To try and be trendy. It is.
It
completely bypasses common sense.
There are certain very sensible things about what you call woke. They are attitudes or language that do not offend other people.
OK, well, listen, it's all about opinions on Friday Night Live. What's yours? And let me just say that I've performed comedy in Liverpool. I've got so many female viewers up in Liverpool watching this programme. And all I'll say is, if I was a single man, I'd be on a one-way ticket to Merseyside. Listen, get your thoughts over the Grand National and the rest of it. Don't forget, we've got Paul Burrell waiting in the wings and Anthony Worrell-Thompson. But next up, was this the week the Tories lost the election? We'll debate that with a Westminster insider next.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
So after his mad dash to see his father last week, Prince Harry predictably went on TV to talk about it. He gave his first interview to Good Morning America, whilst apparently being filmed by a crew that were doing a documentary on the Invictus Games. He didn't disclose his father's diagnosis, but frankly, even the fact that he was on TV talking about it was concerning. No wonder they're keeping him at arm's length. This is what he said.
How did you get the news that the king was ill?
I spoke to him.
And what did you do next?
I jumped on a plane and went to go and see him as soon as I could.
How was that visit for you emotionally?
Look, I love my family. The fact that I was able to get on a plane and go and see him and spend any time with him, I'm grateful for that.
An illness in the family can have a galvanizing or sort of reunifying effect for a family.
Absolutely.
Is that possible in this case?
Yeah, I'm sure. Throughout all these families, I see it on a day-to-day basis. The strength of the family unit coming together.
He also said that he loves his family, but then he said that he had his own family in America. So which family does he love? The late Queen's last few years of life were marred with accusations of racism, which Harry later backtracked on, claiming that they hadn't actually used the word, so inadvertently admitting to gaslighting us all. But the Sussex's stock is falling in the States, and the only thing that makes them interesting is their proximity to the royal family. And now the king is ill, Harry has even offered to muck in and take on official duties to help his father. Look, I want to see reconciliation and love and joy, but I'm afraid Meghan has yet to even speak to her father as far as we know, and Harry didn't apparently even reach out to his brother. Whilst his dad might fall for it, I doubt William will be as soft. Good luck with that, Harry.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From 10 a.m. every Saturday, we want to make you think and we want to make you laugh.
So we will give you all the top stories.
Now we start with a story that has shocked the nation this week.
But we're also going to make it light and fun and bring some entertainment in to make your Saturday morning nice and restful.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Coming up, has the Princess Kate photo row permanently damaged the royal family? I'll be asking former royal butler Paul Burrell, who's live in just a few minutes. But first, following revelations of an appalling racist outburst by a top Tory donor, and with popular Red Wall Conservative MP and GB News star Lee Anderson defecting to Reform UK, was this the week the Tories lost the general election? Let's get the views of one of the best connected political journalists in the country, the political editor of the Daily Express Online, David Maddox. David, great to see you. The departure of Lee Anderson, is at the moment the Tories lost the election?
I think it's a very important moment. I mean, to be frank, it's been such a kind of catalogue of catastrophes over the last year that it's hard to pinpoint the exact week they lost the election. But this may be the week that any hope was lost of some sort of comeback, of some sort of recovery, because it was clear that the budget had no effect, zero effect at all on what voters thought. And then it all started off with Lee Anderson's defection, a completely self-inflicted wound on the party, which, you know, completely unnecessary and quite frankly was I mean, I don't want to use the language that was used to me completely, but it was, I'm afraid, the party leadership telling the Red Wall voters, those who came over in 2019, such an important part of a Conservative future, to F off as such. And as somebody said to me, Lee Anderson gave Rishi Sunak the bird as he went out. And that's about it, really.
Yeah, that's calling a spade, David. The comments of this Tory donor about Diane Abbott were appalling, weren't they? I understand the party have already received £10 million for him. There's talk of ongoing negotiations about another £5 million. What do you know?
Yes, it seems that they're either hoping to get or have already received another £5 million. I mean, frankly, I suppose the real sinister side of this story, apart from the fact that he's a completely appalling individual who shouldn't be allowed anywhere near any political party that considered itself to be in the mainstream or elsewhere, really, or respectable, is that clearly he's still welcome because of his money. And that's what's really worrying about this. And, you know, it kind of goes back to your initial point, is this a week that the Conservatives actually lost it? I mean, you know, in a week where everybody seemed to be pointing at each other and saying, you're more racist than me, which was what Prime Minister's questions was this week. You know, it's very hard for the Conservatives to say, well, you know, we got rid of this dreadful Lee Anderson, who's clearly Islamophobic. But it's all right. This other chap said sorry, so we're keeping his £10 million and probably pocketing another £5 million from him. It kind of tells you where their priorities are, and I'm afraid it doesn't matter what side of a political fence you're on. This just has a nasty feeling to it, and it's just bad all round.
I couldn't agree more. David, the Labour Party are divided about whether Diane Abbott should become a Labour MP again. How damaging could this split be?
Well, I mean, the untold story of British politics is the divisions within the Labour Party. And, you know, I suppose in some ways it will only become obvious when they're in government, because it's a question now of when, not if, they're in government. They are deeply divided on a number of issues, you know, whether it's Palestine, Israel and all the rest of it. But, of course, Diane Abbott is part of the Jeremy Corbyn crowd. Significant group within the Labour Party, significant, even more significant, rather, amongst the membership, because these comments this week has made her look like somewhat of a victim, and of course she is in that respect. But of course, the reason she is suspended because she made atrocious comments herself about Jews and anti-Semitism in a letter to The Guardian, for which, admittedly, she's apologised, but obviously she doesn't have £10 million to buy off that apology as well. But it's, but it's very hard to let somebody back in to a party who's done something like that when your only real attack line is to point to the Conservatives and say, you're racist, you're dreadful.
Indeed. David, let me bring my Friday friends in on this. The Fleet Street legends Nina Mishkov and Mike Parry. Mike, can we go back to this Tory donor who's already forked out $10 million?
Yeah.
But he has made a very racist remark about Diane Abbott. Now, I'm no Diane Abbott fan, and I'm relieved that she never became Home Secretary, which was the plan under Corbyn. That said, do you think the Tories should give back the money?
No, I don't actually, because when the donation is made, you're not aware of the character of the person who's donating that money.
Yeah.
But very quickly, that money is absorbed into the party and you get on with it. You can't suddenly find $10 million to give it back. Now, at the time he was giving it, it was perfectly legitimate. I think you can get up to 35 million quid or something in total donations for an election campaign. I don't know. What they should do, and I'm not quite sure if they've done it specifically enough, is that we will not accept any more money from this person in light of his pretty disgraceful and in my view, disgusting comments about Diane Abbott, a Labour MP on the other side of the House.
You can't defend it. She might be a politician who, has questionable abilities, but there's no call for that. Nina, what do you think?
Well, I think it's tainted money, and of course it should go back. It's outrageous that they aren't giving it back immediately, and as this extra $5 million seems just ridiculous.
Well, they shouldn't accept that. I totally agree.
No, but then if they don't accept the $5 million, then they shouldn't accept. They should give back the $10 million. It makes pure logical sense to me.
Well, Nina, with the greatest respect, if you go down the list of donors over the last 2 or 3 decades, you'll always find something wrong with a donor.
Well, and to the Tory party, absolutely yes, because they are stuffing their pockets and their snouts are well in the trough.
Well, yeah, honestly, do you not remember Bernie Ecclestone and the Labour Party? I mean, it happens on all sides of the House, and that's why I don't think you can just give the money back. It was given in good faith at the time.
Why not? Why can't they give the money back?
Well, they probably haven't got it anymore, to be honest.
Well, find it somewhere. They've got deep pockets.
No, because in that case, that means that every time now you accept a donation on either side of the House, you have to go through this multiplicity of examination of the donor, and then there would be no donations.
Standards have fallen so low. I mean, how low is the bar for morals? You've got to.
But they didn't know he was like that when they accepted the money.
They know now. That's the whole point. They know now.
Yeah, but you can't go retrospectively into this, in my view.
Yes, you can.
OK. Last word on this, David?
Yeah, I'm not sure that giving this guy £10 million is necessarily the best way to punish him. I mean, I take the view that, parties need to be funded and frankly, probably it's too late for the £10 million. But, they certainly shouldn't be taking any more money off him. But the thing is, once you start talking about handing money back, should the Labour Party hand money back to the unions, which have brought the country to a halt and caused all sorts of damage? Should they hand money back to health unions who've, hit people's health and operations by going on strike? There are all sorts of reasons you can give. You have to move on, but they certainly shouldn't be taking any more of him.
Well, indeed, David, should Labour be handing back massive multi-million-pound donations from Dale Vince, who in a previous interview described Hamas as freedom fighters? David, we always love having you on the show, and let me tell you, if you want the best political coverage, head over to the Express online. That's the dailyexpress.com. Next up, has the Princess Kate photo row permanently damaged the royal family? I'll be asking former royal butler Paul Burrell, who's waiting in the rings. Plus, his former boss, Princess Diana, is remembered. That's Paul Burrell next.
Hello, very good evening to you. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you by the Met Office. For many of us, it's actually going to turn quite chilly tonight. Could be a touch of frost before some rain arrives tomorrow. That's in association with a system waiting out in the Atlantic. Before that, though, we do have a ridge of high pressure building, and that's going to quieten our weather down as we go through the end of the day. So many of the daytime showers will clear away and die out, leaving a mostly dry and often clear night. As a result, because of the clear skies and a bit of a northerly wind, temperatures will take a bit of a drop. It's going to be markedly colder than some recent nights. Touch of frost is possible, particularly in rural spots, especially across parts of Scotland. As we go through tomorrow itself, then watch out for a few pockets of mist and fog first thing. Once these clear, lots of fine sunny weather across northern and eastern parts, but towards the south and west here we are going to see clouds spilling its way in, but this won't really reach northern and eastern parts until later in the afternoon. Some wet weather around, could be heavy at times, particularly across Northern Ireland, but after a chilly start, temperatures rising, so most places likely to get into double figures. Any wet weather clears through as we go through early on Sunday, so a bit of a wet start across some southeastern parts perhaps, but thereafter Sunday actually looks largely dry. A scattering of showers for sure, and also some outbreaks of more persistent rain across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but most of us will see some sunny breaks. Monday doesn't look too wet, but further rain is on the cards for Tuesday. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Coming up, why is the food in Britain's schools and hospitals so bad? I'll be asking King of the TV chefs, Anthony Worrell-Thompson. But first, following the Princess Catherine photo row when her official Mother's Day image was withdrawn by 5 news agencies, has this unexpected drama permanently damaged the royal family and the reputation of Catherine? Let's get the views of a man who knows the Windsors intimately well, broadcaster, writer, reality star, and former royal butler to Princess Diana, Paul Burrell. Paul, great to see you again. What was your reaction to the controversy around that photograph?
Well, you know, Mark, this crisis has been fueled by internet conspiracy theories. And it's not a crisis for the royal family, really, because Kate and William know the truth. When they released that picture, they did it for the best of reasons. And wasn't it a wonderful picture? We took it at face value. I knew the location where they had the picture taken, at Adelaide Cottage in the home park at Windsor. I recognised that place anywhere. And they wanted to send a clear message out to the people to say, look, we're fine, we're happy, what a great Mother's Day shot. But of course, what they didn't think was that either Kate or William edited and photoshopped it to such an extent, it then fueled conspiracy theories. The truth is much simpler. Kate is recovering from a serious operation. She needs time, and she's with her family. Right now, she is probably already at Amner Hall in Sandringham, recovering on the King's estate, where she can be safe away from prying eyes. She needs time. Who has said at all during this time that she is a Princess of Wales and she is a public figure, but she is also a woman, a wife, and a mother, and she has a right to privacy. And she has a right to guard her medical condition. So who has said that? No one. So let's give her some space. Let's give her time to get better. She's in a good place, and she's at Sandringham. Now, think about this, Mark. We're coming up to the Easter holidays. She's there with her children. Wouldn't it be wonderful if she stepped out of the church at Sandringham, surrounded by her family and her children, and squashed this once and forever? If I was her PR man, I would say, Kate, get dressed up, look your finest, and step out and show the world that you're fine and you're well. Now, back in the day, of course, Mark, they used to send one photographer to take one picture of the family on special occasions. He could then verify that that picture was authentic and that he'd taken it and all was fine. Perhaps we should go back to the old ways and not have William and Kate taking all the pictures. I mean, they are the royal family. Yeah. We do want to see them, and we want to see them fit, healthy, and well.
Couldn't agree more. Now, Paul, this week saw the 25th anniversary of the Diana Award, which aims to honour the memory of Diana and capture her remarkable spirit, which, of course, you experienced at first hand. Now, her sons paid tribute separately, and I'm told that William was not even in the venue when his brother Harry spoke via video link. What would Diana have made of what's happened to their relationship?
Well, she would be devastated. Are you surprised that this is happening? I'm not. It's just another awkward moment for William, who doesn't want to share any platform anywhere in the world with his brother. He's drawn a line in the sand. He's decided no more, and that's the end of it. But even an award, which incidentally I helped set up with Gordon Brown and the Memorial Committee in Downing Street, even that award cannot bring these two boys back together. And if that can't, if their mother's legacy can't bring them back together, then nothing can.
Most definitely, it's devastating. Paul, let me bring my Friday friends in. Fleet Street legends Nina Mishkov and Mike Porky Parry. Can we talk about this Photogate, Photoshop fail, if you like, Mike Porky Parry? Of course, you've been on picture desks at some of the major newspapers of this country. What's your reaction to what happened?
Well, I think an enormous fuss has been made about a very tiny incident, you know what I mean? I mean, when I first saw that picture, I thought, how joyous! You know, this woman who's been ill is now smiling. She's beautiful. Her three children.
That's what we were supposed to think.
Yeah, her three children are around her. They're all laughing and smiling and happy. And the picture's been taken by their father. It was sheer joy for me. And I thought, wow. Now, she didn't tamper with that picture. It was taken by her husband, Prince William. Nobody tampered with it. Somebody just touched a few edges and made a few rough edges a bit smoother. But, for instance, they didn't make her smile wider. They didn't take lines out of her face. They didn't make her look anything other than she naturally was. I think it's a huge fuss. I think it's ridiculous, the amount of criticism that she's had on a non-story. And what's more, the international picture agencies, I think, feel a bit, you know, put down by the fact that they didn't deal with the picture.
You have to trust the professionals. If they think that the photograph has been doctored to the extent that they are not prepared to put it out, you have to listen to them. And William may or may not have taken that photograph. I don't think either William or Kate photoshopped it. I think that was done professionally, and it is an example of how the Palace of Kensington and Buckingham Palace press puts out,
but Nina,
puts out a spin on things. We are supposed to think that Kate's all fine and it's all happy.
No,
we are supposed to think that. And the point being, light has now been shed upon the workings, the inner workings that they have used. And the thing is, I have every sympathy for Kate, and as a woman, I feel she needs the privacy that she deserves. However, the Palace have got themselves into this state because for the last 4 or 5 years, every single day in the papers, the Daily Mail, whatever, Picture of Kate. Now, the situation is where she is not physically capable of being photographed in that way. And that has caused a huge vacuum, and that's caused all this fuss.
But what facts were changed, Nina? What facts in that picture were changed? No factual incident. No, we do. It was a bit of the cardigan. It was a bit of the jumper. They did not take...
Was that her photo?
Yes, they did not take a former picture of Kate and plant it into that picture.
How do you know that?
Because I believe what they've told us.
Why would you believe anything
Nina Mishkov.
Because it was so tiny.
This is interesting. You smell a rat, Nina Mishkov.
I do completely smell a rat. I think Kate's been used. An apology was issued by Kate. I think she had nothing to do with
So you don't think she was on that garden terrace? You think her face has been pasted onto the image?
It could well have been.
And whose body was that then?
No,
Prince
I can't
Andrew?
accept that. I can't accept that for a moment.
He's in a lot of photographs.
Who knows what was done to it? But if it was just a sleeve or a hand or no ring...
That's all it was. That's all we know it was.
And here's the problem.
Photographic agencies would not have refused. They use Photoshop all the time.
Paul Burrell.
Something major.
Paul Burrell, here's the problem. We're talking about this, and we shouldn't be, should we? And that's the issue.
Well, no.
It is, unfortunately, probably Catherine's first ever PR disaster.
Yes, it is. Back in the day, her mother-in-law wouldn't have had these problems because the internet wasn't there. And this has been fueled by the internet and conspiracy theories. And, you know, I think it's very sad that we're criticising Kate and William, who are our future king and queen.
Not
we should
criticising
stand by
Kate and
them.
William. Excuse me, Paul. I am not criticising Kate and William. I have expressed my support for Kate. I have different views about William. But it is not them. It is the palace machinery.
Well, with the palace machinery, which is outdated, I agree with you, Nina, and they should bring themselves up to present day because they're still living in a Victorian court, and you can't actually promote the royal family with the standards that they used to use in the old Elizabethan courts. They have to be modern and forward-thinking, and I think this is a blip. I think it's something which has happened which Kate and William didn't expect, and I think it is quite simple. Kate is poorly. She's not well. She needs time to recover, and I think we are making it worse by talking about it.
Yeah, but Paul,
so we should really give them space.
She should be given credit. She should be given enormous credit for getting off a sick bed, getting into the middle of that picture with her children, which I think it was absolutely genuine, apart from the little bits around the corner, instead of which she's been criticised. But she lifted the country with that beautiful picture. Everybody loved it.
She has not been criticised. She has not been criticised.
She has.
I think she's been used. And I also want to go to ask Paul the question of William and Harry. Do you agree with me that is William that is completely intransigent, that Harry would be in favour and actually expressed an opinion in his some of his interviews around the book that he would be happy to bring back.
Wait a minute, Nina Mishkov, are you saying extraordinarily that it's actually Prince William who is responsible for the split between the brothers?
I am saying, yes, I am. It's exactly what I'm saying.
I think that's nonsense.
Because Harry and Meghan were pushed out because they were more popular than William and Kate.
I don't accept that.
OK, well, listen, can I get your reaction finally to that bombshell suggestion by Nina Mishkov, Paul Burrell?
I think what Nina's referring to is the fact that William knows his mind, he's dug his heels in, and he will not shift. I think the king, on the other hand, is quite happy to embrace Harry privately, not in a public way, not to give him another role within the royal family, but William is dead against that. William protects his family fiercely. He protects himself against the press fiercely. And actually, Mark, I heard William once say that he didn't want to be king because he found it too intrusive. So this is a very private man who is being pushed into a very public role, and quite frankly, is very uncomfortable right now.
Paul, great to see you looking so fantastically well. Always a treat to have you on the show. Do come and see us again soon. My thanks to former royal butler, reality star, author and broadcaster Paul Burrell. Coming up, why is the food in Britain's schools and hospitals so bad? I'll be asking King of the TV chefs, Anthony Royal Thompson. He's next.
Free Speech Nation. Sunday nights from 7 p.m.
Our first question comes from Elliot. Elliot, hello.
Is Canada now an authoritarian state?
Elliot, I think it's been an authoritarian state for a while. I mean, under Trudeau, this is a new thing now, and this is coming from the Justice Minister, who has Arif Virani, and he has defended this new power for their online harms bill. That sounds familiar. We've got something quite similar. And they're saying they can now impose house arrest on someone who they think might commit a hate crime in the future, right? That's scary stuff, isn't it?
There's obviously a very dark side to this, because you can't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to imprison somebody before they've done anything.
Right.
Well, it is Canada, and I know you in this country kind of respect Canada as a country. America didn't even know it was a country until recently, and I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to show themselves to be different than America.
I think America has a responsibility to invade. You know what? I do.
You know, you're kidding, but it may come down to this, or this may just be a yeah, maybe.
Well, I just think it's ridiculous that the idea of arresting someone... I mean, our government's bad enough, and the Scottish government's out of control, the Irish government's out of control. They're all talking about... I mean, the Irish government's got a new hate crimes bill where they're talking about they can seize your phone if they suspect you might have some material that could potentially stir up hatred. I mean, for God's sake, what does that mean? Your phone's full of that kind of thing.
Well, the government knows that.
Yeah.
But you're right. But it has to do with the bigger picture, which is Canada has sucked itself in on the big team world. Sorry, I'm going to say it. It's big team world. And what they're doing, this is not even a free speech issue. This is just about silencing dissent against the Canadian government. It has nothing to do with openness and talk, whatever. It's like saying, we don't want these people to spread their opinions.
Dangerous opinions. That's what speech codes and hate speech laws always do.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
I got to tell you, my fantastic Friday friends are still arguing about William and Harry, but we've got to move on. A head teacher has issued an apology to parents for poor quality school dinners served to pupils. Jason Ashley, head of Redbridge Community School in Southampton, wrote a letter to parents. He shared photos of the food, which is also being served to staff. Dishes include chips and beans and a tuna jacket potato, which, I'll be honest, are not appetising. I think we might have some images here for you. There you go. That's enough to make your stomach turn, isn't it? If you're listening on the radio, you've got chips and beans, a sad-looking mashed potato, inedible rubbish. The head teacher said if the food had been served to his own children, he'd be exceptionally unhappy. He also said portion sizes had gotten smaller. Well, that's probably a blessing. So whether it's schools or hospitals, why is public sector catering so bad? Let's get the views of king of the TV chefs and restaurateur, Anthony Worrell-Thompson. Hi, Anthony. Why are school dinners so bad? What's going wrong?
I think it's cost-cutting, really. I mean, the price of food has gone up enormously. These companies like Chartwell's, who did that food, must be scratching around trying to make well, they've got to make a profit, haven't they? And I think there's not enough care taken. You know, there's so many things they could be doing. You know, I went to boarding school, but, you know, you always had a teacher at the end of each table. So that there was a link between pupil and teacher. They had parents come in to eat some food. That would be a good idea, so they could see what the schools were serving. Little things like that. They need sort of groups from the school kids to actually talk about the food at some of these meetings, you know. I mean, menus sent out to parents so parents could at least see what their children are eating. I mean, they've got £2.41, if I remember rightly, per pupil to spend on that. You actually think that's 1 meal a day, and prisoners get £2 and 2p for 3 meals a day. So they should be able to do something better with the amount of money they're given.
What do you think of items like chips at school and other fast food items? What do you think about the fact that they're on the menu at all, Anthony?
Well, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have them, but kids do love them, so I don't think the occasional treat goes amiss. It shouldn't be every day, which I'm sure it is in a lot of places. I think an awful lot of the problem they've got is in many places I've been to when I visited schools, there's too much choice. And the kids always go for the bad choice. Well, often go for the bad choice. I generalize, of course. But, I mean, if you offer choice, kids are going to make a choice, aren't they? I mean, we at school got given 1 meal a day, no arguing about it. OK, there wasn't the religion ideas there wasn't vegetarianism, there wasn't veganism, all those sort of things you have to take into account for nowadays. But actually, by giving kids a choice, you're not knowing whether they're getting a balanced meal.
Indeed. Anthony, let me bring my Friday friends in, Fleet Street legends Nina Mishkov and Mike Parry. Nina, do you think the catering should be brought in-house? I mean, this is really important how we feed our kids, isn't it?
Of course. What happened to the day of the dinner lady? I mean, I thought Jamie Oliver had a big... Sorry to mention Jamie Oliver in front of Anthony.
That's okay.
Yeah, please don't swear. It's a family show.
No, Anthony, an old mate of mine, we did a series together many years ago. And hi, Anthony. But the days of the dinner lady and cooking from... Why are the catering companies... Who's lining whose pockets by handing out these contracts to people who patently cannot cater? And why are they being served in takeaway? What happened to plates and cutlery? And
it's expensive.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, Anthony, before I get to you, Mike, Anthony, can you tell us what's happening with these catering companies? It's their job to serve good food. Why are they failing?
I think they're treating it like a factory. I mean, a lot of times they're producing this food a year in advance and freezing it and sending it out to schools in batches, and Nina's completely correct. In-house catering would be so much better. Bring the catering staff involved, get them important members of your team in the school, and let the kids know who was cooking their food for them. It's so much better. There's a lot of schools doing gardening now, so growing your own vegetables. Involve that in the school meals. Fresh food. I mean, for that money, £2.41, you can actually cook a pretty good meal.
I think you can. Mike Parry.
Well, I think there's too much whinging going on here. I remember my school meals, and I used to like them. I used to like the sausages, even if they were only cooked on one side, in big trays, big silver trays. I've spent time in and out of hospital over the last 20 years with a dodgy ticker, and do you know what? The hospital food I got, this old expression, do you like hospital food? I did like my hospital food. I thought it was OK. And also, and Anthony is so right, they've got quite a big budget to be able to do it, but you've got to do it en masse. And what on earth do people expect? Do they expect a Michelin star food in schools and hospitals? Or do they expect something which is adequate and nutritious?
Anthony, you get the last word, responding to Mike. And also, what do you think kids ideally should be eating if the budget is £2 a meal? What would you put on there? What would you be serving the kids?
Well, listen, that guy said, how hard is it to cook a jacket potato? If you actually cook a jacket potato, took out the potato, put in some nice mince inside, so you've got a shepherd's pie in a jacket potato with some... Kids love peas. There's absolutely nothing wrong with peas. And you've got everything there on a plate, simple food. Fish has gone through the roof, but you can buy fish like pangasius, which is a perfectly good white fish, very good value. You can give kids... Their kids only have to have fish one time in 3 weeks. Yeah. What's that all about? It used to be a Friday.
Ridiculous. What about a Greggs sausage roll? They're beautiful and they cost under £1.
Or indeed a Wetherspoons fish and chips. I understand Mike orders 2 when he goes to a Wetherspoons. Other pubs are available. Anthony, remind us your restaurant so my viewers and listeners can go and have a slap-up meal.
It's Grill Off the Green in Kew, near Richmond.
Listen, we'll catch up soon, Anthony. Lovely to have you back on the show. Anthony Worrell-Thompson, king of the TV chefs. Patrick Christys is next. What's happening, Patrick?
OK, so will the NHS's net zero plans actually kill people? It appears there's an extremist imam preaching to primary school kids. Should councils remove the Palestinian flags? One council is doing that. Labour has spoken about ferrets instead of gender reform, which perhaps shows where their priorities lie. And there are questions over whether or not a massive new housing development in Cardiff is going to be used by asylum seekers or the actual people of Wales. So all to play for tonight, 9 till 11.
Awesome stuff, Patrick. Looking forward. Join me for Mark Dolan tonight. Tomorrow at 9, Sunday at 9. Big Opinion, Take at 10, Mark Meets and much more. See you tomorrow at 9. Patrick is next.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you by the Met Office. For many of us, it's actually going to turn quite chilly tonight. Could be a touch of frost before some rain arrives tomorrow. That's in association with a system waiting out in the Atlantic. Before that, though, we do have a ridge of high pressure building, and that's going to quieten our weather down as we go through the end of the day. So many of the daytime showers will clear away and die out, leaving a mostly dry and often clear night. As a result, because of the clear skies and a bit of a northerly wind, temperatures will take a bit of a drop. It's going to be markedly colder than some recent nights. Touch of frost is possible, particularly in rural spots, especially across parts of Scotland. As we go through tomorrow itself, then watch out for a few pockets of mist and fog first thing. Once these clear, lots of fine sunny weather across northern and eastern parts, but towards the south and west here we are going to see clouds spilling its way in, but this won't really reach northern and eastern parts until later in the afternoon. Some wet weather around, could be heavy at times, particularly across Northern Ireland, but after a chilly start, temperatures rising, so most places likely to get into double figures. Any wet weather clears through as we go through early on Sunday, so a bit of a wet start across some southeastern parts perhaps, but thereafter Sunday actually looks largely dry. A scattering of showers for sure, and also some outbreaks of more persistent rain across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but most of us will see some sunny breaks. Monday doesn't look too wet, but further rain is on the cards for Tuesday. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We've got cash, treats and a spring shopping spree to be won in a great British giveaway. You could win an amazing £12,345 in tax-free cash. Plus there's a further £500 of shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. We'll also give you a gadget package to use in your garden this spring. That includes a games console, a pizza oven and a portable smart speaker, so you can listen to GB News on the go. For another chance to win the vouchers, the treats and £12,345 in tax-free cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB03 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 29th of March. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check